and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be me just gushing about some recent favorite books. I kind of talked about this in my 2020 reading goals, I think it was, that I wanted to make more videos about like my recent favorite books or recent books that I have been loving and that I just really want to talk about and just gush about, basically. So I don't really know what I'm going to call this video, like recent favorite books, recent book loves. I was originally going to do this like every 3 months, but I realized like in January and February I did read a lot of really good books that I really love and that I want to share with you guys and just talk more about, because I feel like I don't really ever have the opportunity to talk about my favorite books that I've been reading recently. Really the only time I ever talk about it is in my wrap-ups or in like book tags, but I don't feel like I really share my new favorite books, if that makes sense. So I thought this type of video would be fun and would be kind of a good way to just share what I've been loving lately and just talk more about some good books that I love. So basically these are kind of the books that have stood out to me from January and February and that I just want to talk more about. I feel like this first video is just going to be me talking about 3 authors that I have been loving and that basically I have been binging a lot. So let's just get into the video. I am first going to start with Undeniable by Melanie Harlow. I've pretty much been reading all of Melanie's books. This is clearly my favorite book by her because it is the only book that I own in physical copy. This is book 2 in the Cloverleaf Farms series. I'm actually really obsessed with the whole series. I guess I'll kind of go through them really quickly. Irresistible is book 1. Undeniable is book 2. Book 3 is Insatiable. Book 4 is Unbreakable. And I believe there is supposed to be a 5th book that comes out soon. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's officially confirmed yet or not, but I'm assuming there is. Basically what this whole series is about is that it follows 4 sisters who each find love. Like the first book is an age gap romance. This one is enemies to lovers. The 3rd book is Friends to Lovers. The 4th book is, I guess it's kind of Friends to Lovers too, but it's about a divorced single mom. I just really love the series. It is, I don't know if it's officially a small town romance. I feel like it is, or it definitely gives me vibes of small town romances. I'm obsessed with this whole series, but this particular book is my favorite. This follows Oliver and Chloe, who ever since they were little would always compete, and they always tried to up one another, and they always used to make bets as children and all that kind of stuff, and the bets got heavier and heavier as they grew older. They had one really bad fallout at one point. It led both of them to like absolutely hating each other, actually more Chloe hating Oliver. I can't remember how many years it's been. It says after 20, but I feel like it might be less than that. Oliver comes back in Chloe's life and essentially asks for a second chance, but he's hiding some things, and Chloe is just wondering if she can really open her heart back up to him. I'm not explaining this book very well at all, I'm so sorry. But I loved this, and this I almost gave 5 stars. One of the reasons why I didn't give it 5 stars was because the whole time you know Oliver is hiding something. I just wish like he would have been honest with Chloe from the beginning, because I feel like it would have just been better for them, if that makes sense. But I loved this book. It was so emotional and passionate, and it has a lot of flashbacks from their childhood and what happened in their teenage years and in their early adulthood, and it was just so beautiful and I loved it, and I'm obsessed with the series. I can't wait for the next book. I do eventually want to collect all of the paperbacks because I really do love this series. Next book I'm going to talk about is Keep Her Safe by Katie Tucker. This book I loved. This was literally almost a 5-star as well. I don't really know why I didn't give it 5 stars, maybe just because there was some slow parts, but this is a mystery, contemporary romance that is kind of thrillery at some parts, but more like a slow mystery. Not even that slow, to be honest. I cried while reading this though. I just kept thinking about their parents and how proud their parents would be of them, and it just, like, I just cried the entire time I was reading this. Like, especially at the end, I bawled my eyes out because I just thought, like, Gracie's dad would be so proud of them, and it just made me cry. So this follows Noah and Gracie, and their parents were police partners, and Gracie's dad was murdered. Noah's mom has never really gone over it, and she is now the police chief, and she's struggling with a lot of secrets. One night, Noah and his mom are talking in the kitchen, and she is kind of drunk and just says some, like, random things that Noah kind of questions at first, but, you know, just thinks, oh, she's drunk, whatever. And then there's something tragic that happens. Now Noah is questioning everything that happened, and he's questioning what she said and, like, what his mom said, and he doesn't really know who to believe and who to trust. His mom is kind of giving him these clues, and he's just finding things that are really mysterious. He is kind of led to Gracie, and it's about them figuring out what really happened to her dad and all of the secrets that happened years ago. And it was just so intense, and I didn't see any of the plot twists or, like, reveals coming. I didn't see any of it. I was literally shocked at the end. A lot happened in this book, and it just made me cry, and I mean, Noah and Gracie both deserved more, and it was sad, but it was also, like, kind of hopeful in a way of them, like, trying to figure out what happened and justice being served, and I just really loved it. And K.A. Tucker has a beautiful, beautiful way of writing. I love her writing. I'm obsessed with it, and she's definitely an auto-bi-author. I had read He Will Be My Ruin, and that one disappointed me so much that I was kind of hesitant to read another mystery by her. This one had much more of a romance aspect. In general, like, the storyline was much more interesting than He Will Be My Ruin. If you have read that one and you didn't like it and you don't want to read this one, like, I do recommend reading it because it is so much better than He Will Be My Ruin. Like, this one just, everything made sense. Like, all the reveals made sense, and how everything kind of flowed. All of the reveals were perfectly timed, if that makes sense. I don't know, I really enjoyed this, and I highly recommend it. It was so good. Next, I'm obviously going to talk about The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I obviously binged all of K.A. Tucker's books because I wanted to get to The Simple Wild before the sequel came out, which was Wild at Heart, which I talked about in my February wrap-up. I'm just going to talk about The Simple Wild. I'm not going to talk about Wild Hearts. If you want to know my thoughts on that, you can watch my wrap-up. This book was just amazing. I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. I do have to say I found the beginning a little slow. So this follows Calla, who doesn't really have a relationship with her dad. Her dad lives in Alaska. She lives in Toronto. She gets a call from her dad's friend saying that he has cancer, and it would be her last opportunity to go see him in Alaska and kind of build a better relationship with him. So Calla decides to go to Alaska, meet her dad, kind of have this last goodbye, basically. And she also meets an Alaskan guy named Jonah, and they have a very enemies to lovers situation. This book was just so beautiful, and I cried so much. I cried so much towards the end. I don't think I'll ever forget the scene in this book. I literally want to cry talking about it or, like, thinking about it. Something that happens with Calla's mom and her dad, and that scene literally broke my heart. I bawled my eyes out. It literally ruined me. This book was just so beautiful. K.A. Tucker just wrote it in this way that you could feel like you were in Alaska. You could understand how hard it is to live over there, and how difficult it is, and how it's just such a different life over there. You could feel that with her writing and her descriptions. And I loved Calla, I loved Jonah, I loved their slow build, I guess, their slow burn. I also really loved Calla's relationship with all of the parents in her life, her mom, her stepdad, and her actual dad. I loved how each relationship that she had was so different. I literally can't describe how much I loved this book. Everybody says this book is amazing, and it is. And I for sure stand by that. Like, this is one of the best books ever. Then I guess I'm going to talk about one author because I literally binged a bunch of her books in January and February, and that is Devney Perry. She wrote one of my favorite books of last year, which was Tinsel. I loved that book so much. It was in my top 10 of 2019. So I've always kind of known that I've really enjoyed Devney Perry, but I had never really continued reading her books. And I remember when Gypsy King came out, I was hesitant to read it just because I thought like it ended on a cliffhanger with the current couple, but it doesn't. The mystery aspect has a cliffhanger that continues. It doesn't really matter. Riven Knight had just come out, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna read both of these books. So read Gypsy King, freaking loved it, gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Like, it was almost a 5. I loved the romance, I loved the mystery, I loved like the small townness of it. There was just everything I loved about this book. So this follows a journalist who is kind of tired of writing really basic small town stories. She wants to get like a bigger story, big news, a big break. So she decides that she's going to poke around the former motorcycle club Tinned Gypsy because they recently shut down. They kind of give like this basic answer, but she feels like there's a bigger story there. So she kind of goes poking around. She bumps into the former leader of the club, and they immediately have like this enemies to lovers thing going on. Super intense. I really loved that aspect of it. There's also a town murder that kind of points to the club or the former club, and it's just super entertaining. I loved how there was enough romance, but there was also enough mystery element in here as well, and it just all really flowed really well. I loved both characters. I loved their banter. I loved everything about their relationship was really, really great. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. And then the second book, which is Riven Knight, kind of continues the mystery element. So this one kind of ends on a cliffhanger with the whole mystery aspect. And this kind of picks up with that a little bit, but it follows 2 new main characters. Something happens at the end of Gypsy King where Genevieve and Isaiah think it's a safe idea to get married and pretend they're in love, and you kind of have to figure out why they thought that they needed to get married, and it's them trying to fake that they're in love. It was just so beautiful. I loved both of these books. I'm obsessed with this series. The mystery element in here is so captivating. I cried a bunch in this one just because crazy shit went down. I'm so excited for the 3rd book. I cannot wait for it. I'm also really obsessed with these covers. I just think they're so unique, and I'm obsessed. And I can't wait for the 3rd one. I'm just really in love with this series so far. I've also been loving her Jamison Valley series. I feel like book 1 and book 5 are my only favorites, like true favorites in this series. The rest I just kind of felt about, but I feel like if you've enjoyed Devney Perry in the past, like, you'll devour this series because I did find it really addicting to read. So the first book is The Coppersmith Farmhouse. I loved this book. This book I gave 4 out of 5 stars. It's my favorite in this series, obviously, as I've said before. I just really loved both characters and their romance. And this also has a slight mystery, but it's more towards the end. Follows Gigi, who is a single mom, and she was really good friends with this old guy, and he was kind of like a grandfather figure to her young daughter, and he ends up passing away and gifting her this farmhouse in this small town. So her and her daughter decide to pack everything up and go move to the small town where they now own this house. Gigi ends up bumping into the town sheriff, who is a complete jerk to her. He's really rude. He assumes that she took advantage of the old guy that she was friends with, but he later learns that that was not the case. So he starts trying to be a nicer guy and tries to help her with everything. And he is just like this, I don't know how to describe him, but I absolutely loved Jess. Like, he's definitely the type of male characters I love reading about, because he's just like this manly man, in charge, bossy, also kind of like really funny. I just really liked Gigi and Jess and their little family, and I just thought this book was really sweet, still pretty like emotional. I just really enjoyed it, and I definitely enjoyed reading the rest of the series. Each book follows a different couple in the town. They're all kind of friends or related. And yeah, overall I really enjoyed the series, but the first book is definitely my favorite. I'm obsessed with it. I need a physical copy of it so bad. And those were all of the books that I have been recently obsessed with and that I wanted to talk more about and just share my love for. I just absolutely loved all of these books, and I just wanted to talk more about them, I guess. That's really it. If you have read any of the books that I talked about, let me know your thoughts on them, or if you have any other books that are similar to the ones that I did mention, let me know in the comments as well. Or let me know some of your recent favorite books, some books that you've read that have recently stuck out to you or that have kind of stayed with you. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!